Thank you for hanging with us to this last session. I really appreciate everybody's patience and collaboration and engagement. This is going to be a different one. We're not going to just do a talk and a panel discussion. We're actually going to do a pitch. And with me here is Afzal Mohammed, who's the president and CEO of Divine Foods. I'm going to straight over hand it to him just for the sake of time. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, Divine Foods, and then let's start this pitch and we're going to go from there.
Okay, Bismillah, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Afzal. I'm the CEO and founder of Divine Foods. We've been in business for about 13 years and we have a slaughterhouse in Dallas, Texas. So I have the slides up over here on both sides. So we have an investment opportunity. In order for us to grow and make halal meat and halal foods more available, we need to reach out to the Muslim community, and you'll see and understand why here in a minute. So first things first is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us in the Quran that to eat meat on which His name has been mentioned. So He commands us in the Quran to eat halal meat, number one. Number two is that there are no large Muslim-owned slaughterhouses. So in America, we don't have these Tysons and the Cargill and Koch and these big companies that provide the United States with meat. We don't have Muslim-centric, Muslim-owned slaughterhouses. So that's the first problem. The second problem is the small plants like myself. Our plant is about 4,000 square feet. And so my small little plant can't meet the growing demand. We serve, you've probably never heard of us. We've been doing business predominantly in DFW in Dallas and for the last 13 years. And we've done trial runs to Chicago and New Jersey. We're trying to expand and we're trying to grow. So that's one of the problems, is that we have a small plant and we can't meet the demand, not even of the nationwide demand. And I'll talk about that. So the third problem here is these non-Muslim slaughterhouses, they lack compliance. And I'll be talking about that here in a minute. So the next thing here is that there are three conditions of the halal slaughter that we need to pay attention to. The first one is that the veins must be cut with a sharp tool, must say the name of Allah at the time of slaughter, and it can be a Muslim or Ahl Kitab. Ahl Kitab is very debatable, whether it's okay to eat meat of the people of the book, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But whether you're Muslim or of a person of the book, you still have to mention the name of Allah and you still have to sever the veins. So in the problems, we have many problems. One of the first problems is that not all three conditions are being met, because you don't have nationwide chicken, beef, or even goat and lamb suppliers. You have small plants, or these big nationwide plants are not fulfilling all three of these conditions. And it's a huge problem. Many people are actually not aware of it, and I'm here to share some of that information with you today. So if you want to learn more, we work closely with HAFSA, Halal Food Standards Alliance America. And so you can go to the website, and if you want to learn more about halal, and they've traveled the world, Mufti Abdullah Nana, and you can talk to them, go to the website, visit the website, and learn more about halal, okay? And halal certification, and what kind of problems are there in the industry. Okay, so everything that I'm telling you is from a producer's perspective. I was a distributor for 9 years, and now I'm a producer. We own a slaughterhouse. We slaughter the animals, and I'll talk about that more here in a minute. So the meat industry issues, there are some thick issues. If the meat is not halal, you can't even feed it to a dog. Non-halal, you'll have these big plants that are processing our chicken, that are processing our beef, that are processing these meats for us. You'll see that they have non-halal lines or non-halal hours. They'll do like maybe half a shift of non-halal and a shift of halal. It's not, these plants predominantly are not dedicated halal plants, and that's a contamination issue, okay? And there's mix-ups. Mislabeling happens, and these issues happen. Cross-contamination happens, and I'll talk about that more here in a minute. So the authenticity question, what are we really eating? You know, there was a horse meat scandal, you guys may have heard of it, in the UK, where people were taking horses and they were slaughtering them to be sold for beef. And so horse meat is very similar in muscle and tone and color and such, and so people didn't know, but they were actually eating horse meat. Whether horse meat is halal or not, I'm not here to teach Islam or teach fiqh, but I'm pretty sure if someone goes and buys beef from the grocery store, they don't want to accidentally be eating horse meat. And so as the Prophet ﷺ told us, the best place for us is the masjid, and the worst place for us is the marketplace. And there is a lot of deception, there's a lot of lying, and there's a lot of deceiving that's happening in the marketplace. And most of the average consumers are not aware of this deception, this lying that's happening. You don't know, you could be eating horse meat. Now, about horse meat, there's a hadith about this, about the Prophet ﷺ, who mentions that as we get closer to the Day of Judgment, one of the minor signs is that the value of horses will drop. So if I have to go buy a cow, I can buy a cow, it'll cost maybe $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 to buy a cow. Whereas if I go and buy a horse, I bought a horse myself about over 10 years ago for $14. A fully grown 1,000-pound horse, taller than me, for $14. So if I can buy a $14 horse, slaughter it, and sell it, the incentive in selling horse meat and mislabeling it and lying and calling it beef is very, 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 very high. I can make a lot of money and by slaughtering horses and such. And interesting to know, in America, you can't slaughter horses in traditional slaughterhouses. However, you can go to Indian reserves and you can take the horses from America onto the Indian reserves, slaughter them there, and bring them back. And I asked one guy. He was he was a farmer, and I saw a horse that had a red X on it. I'm like, hey, what does that red X mean? He's like, that means it's going to go to an Indian reserve to be slaughtered. So wallahi, it happened in the UK. I don't have proof of it happening here. There's, if it's happening, it's going to be under the radar. But we don't even know, are we eating beef or are we eating horse meat? Wallahi, you have to be careful. Lab-grown meat, that's a new thing, a new trend. You guys have all heard about it. Do we know, are we even eating real authentic meat, or is it lab-grown meat? Glued meat, they have found a way to use food-safe glue to take it and combine this muscle and that muscle and make ribeyes and steaks, these expensive cuts of meat, and glue them together and sell them to you. And so you don't even know, are you eating glued meat? Then the issues continue. People of the book issues from the Christian of the Jews. There's hadith, just say Bismillah and eat it. Wallahi, we have to be very careful with this, and I'll talk more about why we have to be careful as we go on. So chicken issues, talking especially just about chickens, you have the line and the speed and the effectiveness. Many chickens are not slaughtered correctly. We talked about the veins having the condition, one of the conditions being that the veins have to be cut on the neck, and the typical machine slaughter methods are ineffective. Some of the chickens go into the scalding hot water, a certain small percentage of chickens go into the scalding hot water alive. And so you're either eating improperly slaughtered animals or you're eating dead meat, one or the other, or both. And then talking about other proteins, so you have like beef, for example. Beef issue, they do a lot of stunning. They're big cows, you can't really manhandle them, you can't really just grab them and hold them and slaughter them. You got to use some kind of restraints and such. So what they do is they use irreversible stunning. It's called the captive bolt gun, and they'll take it and shoot it on the head. The cow will drop, it'll fall down, and this will not just incapacitate it, it'll actually kill the cow, it actually dies. And so this is called irreversible stunning. And this is an issue. And I'll point out there's a verse in the Quran that talks about meat from animals that die from a violent blow. And most of the meat in America that we're eating right now, the animal dies, especially in beef, from a violent blow to the head. And it's a problem. And so we need to address this issue. Then you have the bacteria that stays in the meat. At our slaughterhouse, we have the USDA inspectors that will inspect the heart of the cow. And when they inspect the heart at our facility where we hand slaughter, they will say there's no blood in the heart. Whereas when they go to the other slaughterhouses, the non-halal slaughterhouses, the non-hand slaughtered slaughterhouses, they'll find a lot of blood coagulated in the heart. So it's a measurable volume, it's a measurable difference that hand slaughtered versus stunned or captive bolt or machine slaughtered methods are ineffective, and there's a lot of blood retention in the meat. And as we know, blood is haram for us to eat. So it's a problem, it's an issue. And the bacteria, the sickness of the animal stays in the blood. The next protein here is pork. So we have a huge issue. So in America, we have a separation of church and state. You have U.S. government, and then you have, they don't really dictate and mandate that, certain slaughter methods and such. You have a separation between church and state. And so over here, you can do anything. If you look at this, this is a flyer. It says, "We carry fresh, quality halal meat." And if you look here, it says fresh whole pork shoulder. In America, even pork shoulder is halal, according to this flyer. So the thing is that we have to be very, very, very careful as Muslim consumers that anyone can basically slap the word halal. You can see fresh halal is listed right there. Basically anyone and everyone. There's no one stopping anyone from writing the word halal and anything. There's no one there. Now there's some lawsuits going on, and there's some activity, there's some small whispers where the Muslims are trying to rally and trying to make effective change so that people can't do this, just misuse the word halal. But it's few in number, and it really needs some more effort there. And so we'll talk about that. So the certification companies, we work very closely with the certification companies, and these are some of the things that they've been telling us, that there are pork-contaminated facilities. Hafsa, the company that we're certified by that I pointed out earlier, they've told me about how they've gone to plants that were halal certified where they found bits of pork in the slaughter line, visible chunks of pork, and that's an issue. Muslims, one of my first experiences which really brought me into this industry was I walked into a Muslim-owned slaughterhouse. The Muslim brother who owned the slaughterhouse was holding a knife himself, and he was skinning a pig. Not his employees, not his butchers, not his staff. The Muslim brother, the owner himself, holding a knife and skinning a pig. And then wanting to take that same knife and then go and slaughter a goat or lamb with that same knife afterward. Okay? And this was my very first experience back in 2012, I believe, that I saw this with my own eyes. Muslims skinning pigs. In another plant, we had an experience where we had talked to a plant about slaughtering for us, and they used one cooler, and the pork and the beef was in the same plant, and so the meat was touching. That was another problem that we saw. Jewish/Muslim slaughter. So there's a plant in Texas where they supply the whole U.S., and they have a Jewish guy, rabbi, who goes in and he slaughters the cow, 100%. All the way through the esophagus, the jugular vein, the carotid artery, all four veins on the neck, and the air pipe and the windpipe, everything is severed, done, khalas. It is slaughtered. Okay? Then, after that, the Muslim guy comes in, and then he runs his knife across the neck. So now you have kosher/halal. And there's a lot more in-depth analysis of this, why this happens. And the reason why is because the Jewish people, they don't take anything from the belly button down. In other words, they don't take the back half of the cow. They only consume from the front half and the belly button up, forward, the front half of the cow. And the Muslims, predominantly, the muscles and the meat that we use for our keema and for our boneless and for the types of muscles that we use are predominantly in the back half. Eye round, inside round, and these types of muscle groups. So to a slaughterhouse, these non-Muslim slaughterhouses are like, oh, this is perfect. The Jews want the front half and the Muslims want the back half. We'll just do a Jewish/halal slaughter. And I've seen this with my own eyes, hundreds and thousands of cows a week being slaughtered at a slaughter facility, being done in this way with a Jewish/Muslim slaughter. And the reason why you guys don't hear about it is because imagine how much business the slaughterhouse would lose if the community, if the news media were to find out about this. You don't typically allow to take cameras into these places, and so there's a lot of deception, there's a lot of deviant practices that are happening, and they were shipping, and they were slaughtering, and they were shipping, and putting the word halal on the boxes, and claiming this meat to be halal, and shipping to Chicago, to New York, and all over the place. And so this is a problem. Red meat in general is a problem because you like chickens and pigs will never get slaughtered on the same line. But pigs and goats or lambs would get slaughtered on the same line due to their size, or even sometimes I've seen some facilities where they'll slaughter pigs and cows on the same line. So it's mostly a red meat issue. Lard. So in America, we know like pork, the USDA, it measures pork as the highest consumed meat in America at roughly about 34%. And it measures chicken at about 32-33%. Beef is about 20-25%, and goat and lamb is at 5%. and then you have miscellaneous meats. So pork is really, really popular in America, and lard is everywhere. It's in your beans, it's in your canned items, it's in your salads, it's in everywhere. You got to be careful, and you got to watch out for lard. Deer processing, I know a Muslim brother owned the slaughterhouse. He would have non-Muslim hunters bring him deers by the dozens, drop it off in his facility to be processed, these hunters would say, okay, I want you to process my deer, but I want you to make me sausages. And the Muslim guy says, okay. And then after he processes them, they're like, I want you to mix in pork into the sausages when you process my deer meat. So take the deer meat you process from these deers I hunted and shot and caught. Now I want you to mix pork into them. And so I've seen it with my own eyes, where the Muslim owner will find a company, buy the pigs. He won't slaughter himself. He used to, but he stopped. He would buy the pork, put it in his cooler, and mix it in to the sausages. And these are the Muslims doing this. So deer processing is an issue. Right here on Devon, I'm actually born and raised in Chicago. I live in Texas now, and that's what the slaughterhouse is as well. But right here on Devon, there's a story that happened right here on Devon when the Muslims started coming and populating in Chicago, and Devon started. You guys that are local to Devon, you know that Devon is like a little Chinatown of the Muslims. And so you have this little Devon Avenue, you have this little Muslim-centric area of all the butcher shops, grocery stores, clothes, jewelry, etc. So you have Devon Avenue. And on Devon, there was a non-Muslim that had a butcher shop before the Muslims came. And when the Muslims started coming, they're flourishing, they're coming, and they're going, and they're flourishing and everything, and they're putting the word halal on their doors and on their windows and on the storefronts. And so this non-Muslim guy sees how much business they're getting. He's like, oh, I should do the same thing. So he goes ahead and puts up a sign. And he knows the Muslims don't eat pork, so he takes away his pork sign, and he's actually selling pork, and then he just removes it or puts the word beef. And I'm telling this story secondhand. I'm telling you this story secondhand, okay? And so the brother that told me this story firsthand, a Muslim brother that I know, and so basically he's telling me this story. He saw this with his own eyes. He walked into his store, he saw the halal sign, he saw the pork in the display case, and he asked the guy, hey, what are you doing? You're not Muslim, and you have a halal sign, and you're selling, what is this here? This doesn't look like beef. And he's like, yeah, it's pork. And he's like, well, why do you have a halal sign? Well, he's like, well, I saw everyone else putting up a halal sign, so I decided to put up a halal sign too. So this happened right here on Devon. You have to be careful. You cannot just trust the halal sign. We have to be very careful. Okay, so as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I mentioned there's a verse in the Quran. So it talks about a violent blow. Can't be strangled, can't have a violent blow, headlong fall, being gored to death. And so this is a verse in the Quran, chapter 5, verse number 3. And so it mentions how it's forbidden for us. And this conventional method, I've been in the business for 13 years. I own my own slaughterhouse. I slaughter my own cows. I slaughter my own goats. I slaughter my own lambs. I've been in the industry. I've been to dozens of plants throughout the U.S., mostly in Texas, but I've seen a few plants throughout the U.S. And I'm telling you, this is happening. Animals are being slaughtered with a violent blow, and they're being labeled as halal incorrectly. Okay, butcher shops. Do we really trust the slaughterhouses that are supplying them? Or are we just trusting the halal sign at the door? As the Prophet ﷺ told us, I already mentioned this hadith. So let's not argue. And the main thing is we just want to protect our families and our community from these harms. And so we think we're eating tayyab chicken and tayyab beef and tayyab goat. Wallahi, I swear to God, I promise you, after being in this industry for 13 years, wallahi, the food and the meat we're being served and the meat we're eating, it is not tayyab, it is not wallahi, I promise you, it is not. We need to do something about it. So, the solution. So we need Muslim-owned slaughterhouses. And our slaughterhouse is owned by us. We're Muslims, and it's a pork-free, Muslim-owned facility. And also, we are riba-free. We have not used credit cards, term loans, or any line of credit for the last 13 years. So we're also a riba-free plant. So, but we don't have whatever we've done has been predominantly in the DFW area, in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area, and we want to expand our products and get our meat to be more available throughout the nation. And we want to provide that tayyib halal meat to the community. So that's the solution. We need Muslim-owned slaughterhouses. Okay. With that being said, basically our model is B2B. Our goal is to A full farm to fork process, starting at the farm where we we farm the crops, raise the animals, and so on and so forth, and eventually get to the forks. Our goal is to be fully vertically integrated, and this cuts out the middleman. We can make sure that there isn't any non-halal pork, non-halal meats, non-halal beef, non-halal proteins. We can ensure that our animals are not being fed. You might be surprised to know, it might not sound like a big deal, but a lot of the chickens that we eat, they have a 5% non-halal beef additive that's added into their feed. And so we don't even realize that, okay, the chicken might be halal, it might even be hand slaughtered, which is what we focus on, is hand slaughtered. But what was that chicken fed? And so and that's where lard comes in, and that's where non-halal proteins come in. It's a big problem. Okay? So, and so we do wholesale and we do bulk, we're a food wholesaler. All right, so the market opportunity, we have, this is a report by the Dinar Standard. This is the first time that this is the first year that they produced a report for the North America and Canada, but I just took a snippet. It's quite a big document. Basically, if you see here in the document, it mentions that it counts a population of about 7 million Muslims in America, and it says the household consumer spending is about $170 billion, with 22.5 billion being in the food and food service sector. So our market opportunity is roughly about $22 billion market opportunity. And you'd be interested to know that actually 40% of halal meat is actually consumed by non-Muslims. And a lot of people are like, wow, there's 40% of the halal meat that is actually being produced is actually consumed by non-Muslims. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So tractions, the milestones that we've seen. So we started in 2012. We bought a slaughterhouse in 2021. This is our slaughterhouse here, as you can see. This is our delivery truck and livestock trailers and silos for food and tractor, and you can see some of our equipment here. It's a 25-acre property located just south of Dallas, Texas. And so we were a distribution company for about 9 years. We bought the slaughterhouse, and now we buy the animals, we transport the animals, we house the animals, we further process the meat for hotels, restaurants, and institutions, and then we distribute to butcher shops and to grocery stores. So over the last 13 years, we've sold about $43 million worth of meat. Last year alone, our production was about 1 million pounds of meat that we produce, about 800,000 pounds of goat and lamb, and about 200,000 pounds of beef. And it's really just like a drop in the ocean. This is really just in Dallas. You can see we've got some traction. We did some trial runs in New Jersey, and we expanded. We did a trial run in Chicago right here. We've done 2 shipments to Chicago now over the last 13 years, and we're trying to increase that. You know, obviously people need weekly supplies, not just twice a year. But most of our traction is in fact in DFW. So this 43 million, 99% of it has been in DFW, and it's only been with one protein. 99% of our sales is just in goat and lamb. And as I mentioned earlier, goat and lamb is only about a 5% consumption, according to the USDA. And so, you know, we're just now launching a beef program, which is a much higher consumption, and then you have the biggest protein, the most popular protein, which is chicken. And so this is the traction that we've seen. And in order to see this traction, so far we've been able to raise about $2.2 million. And we have about 15 dedicated members on our team. So this is my family and I, mother, father, brother, and sister-in-law. We are a family business, and we're trying to grow and try and take things to the next level so we can go nationwide and expand our team. And, you know, wallahi, without the support of the family and without the support and with the experience that they brought, father being a mechanical engineer, my mom having the billing experience, and my brother being an operations manager. He's worked in the food industry, he speaks Spanish, and he has other different skill sets. And then my sister-in-law, who is a relationship manager. And the first day we got the keys to our plant, we had a hoist issue. And so my dad and my brother, they jumped in and they got the hoist fixed. The next day we had a plumbing issue. There was a septic tank issue, and then my brother and my dad jumped in. And the third day we had another plumbing problem. One of our pipe burst. And so every single day in the slaughtering business, you'll see there's challenges. And alhamdulillah, with the help of Allah, by the grace of Allah, Usman gave me specifically and gave us in Divine Foods many resources that we use to help us get to where we've got to today, and inshallah that'll help us catapult us and move forward in the future, inshallah. So this is what it looks like for our financial projections. Like I said, last year we did about 5.8 million, and we're projecting that next year, 2026, inshallah, we're hoping just to go to the next level from 5.8, push it up to 7 million. That's our goal, that's our target. And keep increasing every year for the next 5 years and get it up to 11 million. So go from 5.8, almost double to about 11, inshallah. And that's 11 million is still just a drop in the ocean out of a $22 billion North American or US industry. And you can see here that the net income is about 5%. These are the numbers that we've been seeing. This is the industry standard, and we look at comps, which is comparables. So we'll look at other companies and other slaughterhouses and what are they doing. And some other slaughterhouses that we've compared, they make 5%, some make 6%. So we've taken a very modest number here and given us a 5% net income based off of $7 million in sales. That'll make us an income of $350,000. Inshallah. Okay, so over here, I want to introduce to you guys Regulation CF. Okay, I'm not a big investor. I don't have millions. I don't have hundreds and thousands of dollars. Okay, no problem. We have found a solution, which is Regulation CF. Regulation CF, basically what it means is it's through the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission. It's a legitimate investment opportunity, okay, where basically it's called regulation crowdfunding, and where you can invest as little as $100. Actually, there's a cap. You actually cannot invest more than $2,500 if you are a non-accredited investor. If you don't know if you're an accredited or non-accredited investor, most likely you're not accredited. Or you can do $100 to $2,500, you choose, or you can do up to 5% of your income. For example, if you make $100,000, you can invest up to $5,000 maximum. That's it. These are the SEC guidelines and rules, and you cannot break those rules when it comes to investing through the investment vehicle that we have laid out. However, if you're an accredited investor, which means you're making about $200,000 a year if you're single, or $300,000 a year if you're joint, and that's for the last 2 years, you have to show that history, and you have a net worth of $1 million, not including your primary residence, that would qualify you to become an accredited investor. And if there's anyone that's like this out in the audience, you know, mashallah, Allah bless you and give you more. But most people that we come across that want to support the halal cause, the average consumer does not have this type of financial backing. And so we created this system through Regulation CF where you can invest as little as $100 as long as you want to support the halal cause. We want you to give you an option in a way that you can contribute. So the use of the funds, and by the way, this Regulation CF, if you see here, it'll allow us to it'll allow us to raise $5 million within a 12-month period. That's the cap. So we can raise less than that, but not more than that. Okay, within a 5-month period, and that's our target. So we raised in the last 13 years, spread out throughout the last 13 years, we raised 2.2 million. And now we want to take things to the next level so we can build and we can grow and make halal meat more available. And the use of the funds, the first most important thing would be for mergers and acquisitions. So we're a small plant, only 4,000 square feet. We cannot produce a lot. So we need to either merge or we need to acquire more infrastructure. Bigger beef slaughterhouses that can produce more beef. Like you guys heard the Restaurant Depot guys talking, they're like, if you're not even producing 1 million pounds or 50,000 pounds, we're not here to do trial runs. So, they need you to have some serious traction before you do that, before you approach them. And inshallah, we will definitely be approaching Restaurant Depot, Costco, Sam's Club, and further. But we have to get ready for that. We need a lot more infrastructure and a lot more planning. So mergers and acquisitions, about $2.1 million for M&A. And then after that, we need to pay off our slaughterhouse. We bought it on owner financing for about $1.8 million, and we've paid about $500,000 down in the last 4 years since we bought it, and we have 1.3 remaining. So we need to cover that 1.3 to finish paying off the slaughterhouse. After that, typically with this so for the $5.8 million worth of meat we sold last year, we used about $230,000 worth of working capital, and so we've got just a little bit more than that, $230,000, and as we grow we will need more equipment and facility upgrades and tech. Okay, so this is the use of the funds. And let me go ahead and wrap up here. So as I mentioned, we don't take term loans, we don't take line of credit, and we don't use credit cards. So that makes funding really hard. Let's say I'm making $10,000, let's say I'm making $20,000 a month at my slaughterhouse. In 1 year, with $10,000, I'll make $120,000. And that is not allowing me to grow, to expand to Chicago, to expand to New York, to expand to different parts of the nation, and to get into different proteins like chicken. We don't produce chicken. We only do goat, lamb, and beef. And we did 27,000 goats and lambs last year just in Dallas. And we did 700 cows. And wallahi, this is like a drop in the ocean. The demand, it's so big, it's like coming out of my ears. Wallahi, for the last 13 years. I could go on and on and on and talk about that, about the demand that we've been seeing. It's a $22 billion demand. And so since we remained riba free, we've had to rely on investments to grow. And the thing here, and so that's one of our biggest challenges to grow. And so alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair for listening. And you can scan the QR code. This regulation CF is ready to go as of today. You can scan the QR code and you can reserve your minimum $100 spot on this raised regulation CF. You can place your reservation, and then we use a website portal called WeFunder. They do charge us to be able to use their platform, but it allows us to automate, like if I'm taking $100 from 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 people, to get the funds that we need, that's a lot to manage. So we need a management platform. So we have a professional, they're the second best in their space, in their industry, which is crowdfunding space. And so we have teamed up with them, and we have a portal ready to go where you can do more. If up to $2,500 if you're not accredited, or up to $5 million. Hey, if someone wants to give me $5 million today, bismillah, let's go. And people need halal meat, and here's a picture of me, mashallah, cutting up some meat. So jazakallah khair for listening, and we're gonna let the shark
Awesome.
chew me up a little bit here. Hopefully not too bad.
Thank you so much for that. And by the way, I want to be very loud. Ivy, put me up all the way. Everybody in the conference, Assalamu alaikum. I need everyone, including exhibitors, everyone, please make your way here as we wrap up. We are giving awards. If you're not here and you're going to get an award, I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to sell it off to somebody else. Okay. Please come over. Please come over. Everybody come over. No exceptions. Everybody come over. All right, I'm going to be down there. So thank you so much for doing this pitch. There are a couple of things, actually, let's sit down.
Yeah, please.
There are a couple of things that I want to explore with you.
Bismillah.
Bismillah. And by the way, who did you say your crowdfunding platform is?
WeFunder.
WeFunder? Are they Muslim?
No.
How about I take you to a Muslim crowdfunder?
I'll be more than happy to try. There's Carvana. I talked to them, and they do crowdfunding, but they do real estate only. So who do you have?
We can talk offline.
Okay, you got it.
But I know the founder of LaunchGood.
I talked to him.
And Chris, and I
Yeah.
think there might be an opportunity to collaborate.
No, I talked to him. He pushed me to Carvana.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, there was a Thrive seminar in Dallas.
Yes.
I was there, and he was there.
Yeah.
I talked to him.
All right, so then we take that box. All right, the first curious thing I want to ask about is the authenticity. How do I know this is halal? To your point about Devon. Actually, look, one of the first restaurants I fell in love with was in Devon Street. It's called Usmania. For some reason, I don't know if anybody, I don't need to offend Usmania, but the quality has gone down. But I stayed away from Devon Street because I was weary of all these halal, supposed halal stores. And you walk in and it doesn't feel like it's halal. Something is off. How do one, as a consumer, how can we actually validate, get that vote of confidence? But how do you, as the, is it okay to call you a packer at the end of the day, right? Slaughterhouse packer. How do you provide that vote of confidence down to the consumer?
So the suggestion is that you need to ask questions. The consumers need to ask more questions. Don't just trust that halal label. And then you said vote of confidence?
Yeah. So like vote of confidence meaning like besides the halal stamp on the product, We heard, Restaurant Eco say meat, there's, I guess, some regulation where the film and blah. But I walk into a store, the guy is saying it's halal. Or, like whoever's in the shop, they're saying it's halal. What can I do to further validate?
Okay, yeah, good question. So basically, there are certification companies out there, okay? And they are trying very hard and they need the consumer support, okay? We work with Hafsa. We have in the past worked with HMS, and there's Ivanka, and there's Halal. Another company that we are certified by is American Halal Foundation. So if the consumers need to familiarize themselves with the certifying bodies, visit the websites, see who the certified listed entities are, and then look into that. So like for Chicago specifically, they're both HMS, which is hmsusa.org, or then you have Hafsa, and you can go to these websites and you can find multiple dozens of certified butcher shops, restaurants, grocery stores, distributors, retailers, slaughterhouses, a whole 9 yards that are certified. And it's better to follow those certified lists rather than just trust the average.
Right. No, that's a good point. All right, here comes the Shark Tank part. Again, Mike, put me up for a second. I'm going to be obnoxious right now. Everybody in the Expo Hall, Assalamu alaikum. Please, everybody in the Expo Hall, come over here to the speaker session side. We are going to be giving out awards as we wrap up here in just a few minutes. If you are not here and you're supposed to get an award, I'm going to be donating it. How about that? Just come over, guys. All right, IOEV, put me down a little bit, please. Even though in comparison to the drums noise on the other side, they were usually loud, right? All right, a couple Sharky questions for you.
Bismillah.
You tell me Bismillah. You're looking to, AV, put me down a little bit, sorry. Put me down a little bit. You talked about your business model. B2B, or this farm to fork, is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a bit more, like how you're monetizing, especially the farm to fork piece. How
Sure.
are you doing that space?
Sure. So basically, from 2012 to 2021, we were just a distribution company. We picked up meat from a slaughterhouse and we dropped it off at the butcher shops. And we did that for about 9 years. And in that 9 years, we realized that this did not give us control over the system. And so we went out, we set out on this mission, on this journey to become vertically integrated. And so to your point, basically, we were last year, our average was about 500 goats and lambs per week and about 10 cows. And so the amount of land that we need to farm that many animals is in the hundreds and in the thousands. So we don't have the financial backing and we don't have the time, the energy to really get into farming, which is growing crops. That's what farming is, growing crops. Or then to get into ranching, which is to breed the animals and to grow the animals. And so that will come later on. But for right now, what we focused on is sourcing the animals from auctions, from feedlots, and directly from the farmers. And so we will go as far as up north to, I think Minnesota is the furthest up north we've gone. Then you got Texas, there's mostly in Texas, then you Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. So we're able to source, because we're vertically integrated, we have our own livestock trucks, we have our own livestock trailers, we go and we have our own livestock drivers, we have our own buyers. In one day I've been able to make big purchases due to my exposure to the industry. So like one day I was able to buy like 650 goats and lambs, for example. You just wiggle your finger and boom, So, and they talk really fast, So the average Joe walks into this industry, it's really a difficult industry to navigate, but alhamdulillah, we've just stayed very persistent and very consistent in it, and we've learned to buy the animals, we've learned to transport the animals, we house the animals on site, we slaughter on site, we fabricate on site, we warehouse on site. We actually bought a food manufacturing plant in 2022, where we were making rice and curry dishes. We were making biryani.
You were making the dishes in the restaurant, or what?
So we did a little bit of food service, but mostly it was private label.
So the question for you.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you focus your business, given you're a slaughterhouse or a packing house, but now you're also a food service?
Yeah.
How do you ensure that you're not going to dilute your value?
Sure. So we did a trial run mostly because we had about $5,000 to $10,000 worth of leftovers every week that were going to the freezer in terms of unsold meat or offals. And so we wanted to try to find a way to, cash out that instead of it just freezing. And so we looked into this option. We did end up deciding to close that chapter because the type of business we did in our food manufacturing plant in 1 month, we do that in like 1 day at the slaughterhouse. So we did decide to do a laser focus on raw meats. And for the next 3 years in our business plan, we just want to focus on raw meat. That's it. And then after 3 years, then we'll go back into value-added items, starting with raw meat value-added and then eventually cooked foods.
Any questions from the audience? Any angels that want to take a stab at the investment opportunity? What do you think my ROI is going to be if I invest in it?
So right now we're projecting about 24% per year.
Not bad, guys. You don't get that easily. 24 to 1 investment?
So you invest $100,000, we're projecting to get about $24,000 back, inshallah.
And will you be the first person to invest, to show support for this?
I am going to invest in you guys. Actually.
Inshallah, just need $100. Inshallah.
Will I get a 10% of whatever the investment because I helped push it through?
Bismillah, yes.
This guy's
What?
going to get a commission check out of this.
I think I'm sitting here.
Hold on, I'm going to turn it on you. You're in the chamber here, right? How are you going to help this business succeed with the rest of the restaurants? Come over, give him a mic, guys.
Oh, I don't know.
Da.
And I'm good, man. I mean,
Come, no, this is a homey conversation. Amy, can I get because there's a question in the back as well, please. Because one of the things I was going to ask you is how do you get to the tortilla?
Yeah.
Can you tap into that as well?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Please.
well, since it's an audience, 24% return on investment, I'll be honest, people should have their eyes and ears open. Now, a pretty direct question, brother. That's what we call an aggressive return on investment. Let's say there's 100 people here today that are truly interested. We have to crunch the numbers. I mean, where would that return on investment, how is that calculated? And do you have past data that shows that your investors have gotten that kind of ROI?
Yeah, so we've used a market comp, we've used another slaughterhouse and used a P&S. There's 6 different evaluation methods. So we use a P&S ratio. So with our sales being $5.8 million last year and using a P&S ratio of 1.5, that values our company at about $9.2 million current value. And so with the investors that invested $2.3 million, we've been able to help them double their investment value.
And got it, what's the minimum investment?
$100.
$100.
Yeah, we're using, you might have missed it, but we're,
$100, that's not bad. Okay, what's the average?
you might have missed it, we're using regulation CF.
What are the average investors so far?
So
in the company?
regulation CF is a new investment vehicle that we're just launching today. Prior to this, the average investment was about $50,000.
$50,000.
Yes. Yeah, and that was through a Reg D offering.
So what I very good questions, Rosh. I can pass the mic to the back. I think there was a question to that, right? As the mic goes back there.
I mean, look, I know it's had that Expo, but me taking on this role as co-host, is there like extra, besides Hasanet, I mean,
We'll make the law for you.
I'll take that.
He's going to bring you some bar.
State your name and where you're from so they know exactly who you are.
My name is Mona. Thank you for your presentation. I'm from the Boston area. So if you were to invest, let's say, $100 today, what information would you need? And then in terms of the return, when could we expect something and how often?
Sure, very good. Yes.
Great question.
Very good question. So basically it's about a 3-page contract. And basically you just need to decide 2 things. One is how much do you want to invest and how long do you want to invest it for. So let's say you invest $100 and you invest it for 1 year. What we'll do is we'll give you quarterly dividends. So in the past, we've done low dividend yield investments, which is mostly like equity type of investments where the value of the share has to go up. So now we're switching over to high dividend investments where you will see like quarterly returns. So that way, everybody wants to build some residual income, or they want to make some extra income, on the side. And a lot of us have money that's sitting in our bank accounts, that's in our savings accounts, and it's just sitting there rotting. Earlier they mentioned that with just inflation being potentially 5%, your $100 in your bank account becomes worth less next year. So we're trying to offer this opportunity. There's many investment companies here and that are available in the market, and we're trying to offer this option for the average Muslim consumer, not only to support halal, but then also to have investment.
All right, we're not saying here that we all have to invest. But my brother brought up a very interesting point, that we all are potentially guilty of having money that is sitting in our checking account, saving account. Again, we're not saying it has to translate. If it does, that'd be great. But how many honestly do you have right now money that's sitting in the account because you're kind of scared of investing? Be honest, hands up. You got money in the account, you should invest. Really, nobody? You're all in the stocks, you're all good to go?
I've invested all my money in the company, so.
By the way, I just want to make a very simple announcement. There's no way what's going on over there is halal. I want to throw that out there. What the heck is going on there?
It's debatable.
That's why our AVs can continue to put our volume up and do this. Look, thank you so much for the question, sister. Any other questions?
Exactly.
Any other questions? Maybe one more question? Okay, so I'll throw it out. So somebody wants to invest?
Yeah.
Right here, right now, what do they gotta do to make it happen?
The QR code, if you guys could put the QR code back up. So,
Put the QR code up for me.
so you can go to our website and also access it, divinefoods.usa.com, and you can also access it from there. And it'll get you to a portal, which is WeFunder, and that'll allow you to make a reservation. Once we hit a threshold of 50,000 through the WeFunder portal, that will show WeFunder, okay, we've got some serious traction with our supporters, and then they'll start working through the contracts, start onboarding everyone. No money gets taken out not now. So once we get that full $50,000 raise through this new vehicle, once we get that $50,000 raise, then they will start turning the gears, emailing the contracts out. Everybody will review them. If they decide to move forward, they sign, they fill out the contract, they sign, and then the money gets taken out. There's a fee that they take, and the rest of the money comes to us. But until then, your reservation just tells us that you're interested. So right now, you can just scan this and just make a reservation. No money comes out. It just tells us that you're interested. So all we need is people to show interest right now.
So I'm gonna throw it out there. Who's interested? Raise your hand.
Interested.
MashaAllah. Interested.
All right.
You guys, please scan it. Talk to us afterwards as well. And what I'm going to do for you as well, I'll connect to a lot of VCs and investors and angels and syndicates, and also connect you to communities on the investment side.
Inshallah.
This is huge.
We gotta make you read that. I know we ran deep, but.
This is like one of these shows we gotta host.
By the way, I'm gonna just say this. Keep it up to Ben. You did an awesome job the last couple of days. emceeing, hosting, promoting, investing. I mean, what did you not do? Tell us all those awards, man. It's taken all the way.
I even brought my wife and kids here.
Yeah.
And they were shopping according to them. So, no, look, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck, inshallah. You have commitments, and please go up on your commitment. And we'll continue to collaborate with you, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Give a round of applause for this. All right, hey, put me all the way up at this point. I am gonna.